Welcome back. Attorney and Marine Corps veteran John Deaton declaring victory last night in a three-way Massachusetts Republican primary. He's now set to face off against incumbent Democrat Senator Elizabeth Warren this November. Shortly after the race was called, she agreed to participate in 2 October debates against Deaton, but he's challenging Warren to 5 single-issue debates on immigration, the economy, income inequality, foreign wars, and women's productive rights. Joining me now exclusively is the man himself, Massachusetts Senate candidate John Deaton. Congratulations, John. Thanks very much for being here this morning.
No, thank you, Maria, for having me. It's an honor to be on your show, the first person to interview me after the victory.
Well, that's terrific. Thank you for that. I want to get your take on what the plan is now. How do you take on Elizabeth Warren? She's basically in charge of this green climate change agenda. I think she's giving the orders to the administration on who to put in cabinet positions and who to nominate for positions. So how do you win?
Listen, there's no doubt that you're right. Her fingerprints are all over the financial markets going on. And so, listen, Elizabeth Warren, what got me in this race is I saw a poll last year, Maria, that Charlie Baker, former Republican governor, would smoke her if he were running in this race. Beats her by 15 points. Let's remember, she finished third. She couldn't even take second when she ran for president in Massachusetts. Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden beat her. She has a 41% approval rating. She's passed 1 bill in 12 years. And so it's her record that I'm going to win. And people are excited about this race. I have a radical agenda. It's called common sense that we're going to restore to the United States Senate. She's a hyper-partisan person, and the independents in this state are tired of it. What people don't know about Massachusetts, Maria, is 64% of the electorate are independents, and they're coming out in swirls to vote for me.
Well, let me get your take on the agenda that she supports. She's been very supportive of Kamala Harris, saying that there's price gouging, that she wants to keep corporations at bay. She wants to make sure to tax them highly, as well as wealthy individuals. So tell me about your economic plans versus hers in Massachusetts.
Listen, I'm the perfect messenger to take her on these issues. You know, she talks about income inequality because it's a political slogan to her. It lives inside my heart. Maria, I come from extreme poverty, a single mother on welfare and food stamps, living in one of the worst neighborhoods in America. I know what it's like to be dependent on the government. I don't want to just give people another $50 or $100 in food stamps and say, I helped you. I want to lift people up. Listen, Elizabeth Warren's great at one thing, fighting against issues in people, right? She's great at fighting against the rich and the wealthy, but that's not the same as fighting for the poor and the middle class. And so, of course, she's out there talking about greedy corporations and price controls and socialistic agendas. I'm a free market capitalist, and I believe that someone like me who's overcome extreme poverty in his life, who's able to lift himself up out of poverty, is the right messenger to lift poor people up and expand the middle class. And I'm looking forward to that comparison.
Yeah, yours is a phenomenal story, and it's certainly so many of us want to emulate. I have a fantastic panel with me this morning, John. I want to bring the panel in. Tricia, Mahek, give us your take on what you're hearing here, because there's not much time left to get Americans to understand what John Deaton is saying, right? When do mail-in ballots go out, Tricia?
For North Carolina, they go out on September 6th, but of course the first presidential debate isn't even until the 10th. But John, I really want to hear, what are independent voters, what are these swing voters in Massachusetts telling you? What do they want out of you, and what do they want out of the candidates?
What they want is common sense. Listen, illegal immigration and the migrant crisis is bankrupting this state. We spent over $1 billion in the last year. We're going to spend over another $1 billion in the next fiscal year. It's literally bankrupting this state while we're experiencing an exodus of people leaving the state. And so there's that issue. That's the #1 issue on voters' mind. And then it's the economy. Massachusetts is now the second most expensive state to live for working families. Wow. Regular people are being priced out of the economy. Housing in Massachusetts is more expensive than California now. And people are tired of it, and they want change.
Yeah, you know, I did not realize that Massachusetts was the #2 most expensive. I know that Republicans in Massachusetts are demanding information on the state's alleged $1 billion in secret migrant crisis spending. What is this money being spent on? They submitted a formal request last month for a detailed cost breakdown from Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey's administration, as Healey is celebrating her state securing over $20 million in federal funding to help handle the migrant crisis. Meanwhile, we've got story after story of migrant crime. An illegal Brazilian migrant now in federal custody this morning after being charged with raping a minor in Massachusetts. Worley Nito crossed the Texas border illegally back in 2018. In 2023, he was found guilty of suspicion of strangulation or suffocation, assault and battery on a family member. He received a 364-day prison sentence, but a judge suspended all of it but 90 days. He was arrested later on these latest charges back in January, taken into federal custody at the end of last month. John, how would you assess the migrant crisis impact on Massachusetts?
Maria, we are a border state. What people don't know about Massachusetts, we have a right to shelter law here that was enacted in the early 80s that does not require residency. And so the migrants come here and the government must put them up in hotels and must feed them. And we don't even get any transparency of where that money's going. That $20 million you're bragging about when you're spending over $1 billion is nothing. And what we're hearing is that there's no bid contracts being issued that the public doesn't get to see. The cheapest rate I've seen is $150 a night, and then I've heard it's $64 a day. Maria, when you add those two numbers up, that's $78,000 per migrant. Tell that to an electrician apprentice who's working 50 to 60 hours trying to feed a family making 75 grand, or a teacher or a bus driver. It's crazy. It's out of control, and Massachusetts is ground zero.
It's a great point. Do you think the electoral will come out for you?
I think they will. Listen, we saw some polling 6 years ago. Elizabeth Warren had 55% of the independents likely to vote for her. She's lost over 22 points in that. It's down under a third. If I get all those votes, I win this election. And they're coming out to vote for me in droves. And I'm going to shock the world. I'm going to win this election, Maria.
Wow, that is great confidence, John. Real quick, Mahak, we saw what happened to the squad.
Well, we did. They got taken out because of their platform against Jews in Israel. So I think as long as people like John are out there speaking the truth and speaking about the American dream, my gosh, talk about a Marine who pulled himself out of poverty from the bootstraps, and now he's coming back to serve people. As long as you continue to speak the truth, your message is going to prevail.
John, we'll be watching your race. Thanks so much for being here this morning.
Thank you, Maria.
All right. John Deaton joining us this morning in Massachusetts. Quick break and then